With the rise of video game popularity in the late 70s, but especially in the 80s and 90s, it was pretty much inevitable that Hollywood would want to get in on that action. I still remember going to the movies back in 1993, super excited to be watching an adaptation to the big screen of one of my favorite childhood games, Super Mario Bros. To be honest, I know that the movie isn't good, but as a wide-eyed kid, I was just super happy to be watching Mario and Luigi on the big screen. But I do understand that many people were frustrated with it because it seemed like the creators of the film had simply never played the actual game. The movie in itself was super dark, but it was trying to add slapstick and childish humor in it. Yet the dark undertones were so dark that it simply didn't appeal to most children. And even though the movie didn't do well, many other 90s video game flicks just kept popping up throughout the years, such as the very bad Street Fighter adaptation starring one of my favorite actors, Jean-Claude Van Damme, or the really bad Wing Commander adaptation. How could they screw that up? Seriously, the video game was basically a movie already, so why not recast the same actors and make more cinematic scenes out of the already cinematic video game? I actually did make a previous video listing my top 5 worst video game to movie adaptations. I'll link it in the description of this video. With that being said, even though many of these video game to movie adaptations are simply bad, well, some of them actually managed to stand out as acceptable or even good. So without any further ado, here's a list of my top 5 video game to movie adaptations. Number 5, Silent Hill. This movie was released in 2006 and directed by Christophe Gans, who is a French film director that isn't too known in the USA, but has always had a soft spot in my heart because he directed 2 visually immersive martial art movies of my young years, Crying Freeman and Brotherhood of the Wolf. Even though these films are super slow, for some reason the visuals and aesthetics of them make them feel like paintings that should belong in a museum. Silent Hill goes back with the pleasant aesthetics that Christophe Gans is a specialist of. After all, the original video game released in 1996 was already praised for its visuals and eerie atmosphere. Development of Silent Hill started in the early 2000s. After attempting to gain the film rights for 5 years, Gans, in an attempt to woo Konami, the publisher of the game, made a last effort to convince them by sending a video interview to them explaining his plans for adapting Silent Hill and how important the games are to him. The film adaptation tells the story of Rose and her husband Christopher, who are deeply disturbed by their adopted daughter Sharon's constant sleepwalking and nightmares about Silent Hill, a town in West Virginia that was abandoned 30 years ago due to a massive coal seam fire. Against her husband's wishes, Rose takes Sharon to visit Silent Hill to find answers. On the way there, Rose gets into a car accident and her daughter is missing. Surrounded by mist, she starts searching the town for Sharon and keeps seeing another girl who resembles Sharon. At various points, the town transitions into a nightmarish dimension inhabited by inhuman monsters. Moreover, to add to the nightmare, all roads leading out of the town seem to have vanished. In all honesty, the movie is fun to watch and visually appealing for the VFX and sets, but it's also very confusing for its complex storyline that makes sense but also doesn't really make sense. Number 4, Resident Evil. Okay, there are actually 6 movies in this film franchise, and speaking about just one of the movies really wouldn't make justice to the series. Obviously, any franchise having so many sequels will have some movies that are better than the other. But to keep things constant, I'll speak of Resident Evil as a whole, as watching all 6 movies is kind of the only way to make sense of the storyline. The movies focus on the character Alice, played by Mila Jovovich, that was created during Project Alice with a mission to create clones of the young Alice, Marcus, and modify her DNA to remove the progeria disease that was slowly taking her life, while also using the clones to perform essential Umbrella Corporation duties. And if you're at all familiar with the video games, you'll probably know that the Umbrella Corporation is one of the most powerful companies in the world of Resident Evil, and responsible for all evil things in the world. Their base being under a fictional city called Raccoon City, where they run a secret underground facility. After an employee releases a formula known as the T-virus, everything devolves into chaos, turning people into zombies. After the outbreak, Alice, a former security specialist and covert operative, battles the now worldwide zombie apocalypse. The series was criticized for its unrestrained use of violence, cliffhanger endings, and the habit of abandoning established characters without explaining what happened to them. No matter if you enjoy this franchise or not, the Resident Evil film series is the highest grossing film series based on a video game, having grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide. Number 3. Mortal Kombat. 5 best video game to movie adaptations would not be complete without including this movie. The first thing that people will actually remember from this movie is the techno music. I actually remember having the soundtrack of this film as a teenager because the uncommon music at the time for a martial art film just gave so much energy to the fight scenes. I would even go as far as to say that 50% of the pleasure of watching this movie was in the lead techno track. The film's adaptation material was sourced primarily from the original 1992 video game, but it was also inspired by incorporating elements of the 1993 follow-up game Mortal Kombat 2. For example, the otherworldly dimension of Outworld was not formally mentioned until the second game, in which Jax, Kitana, and Shao Kahn, the game's final boss, also make their official debut. For this adaptation, Lord Raiden is played by no other than Christopher Lambert, who played in one of my all-time cheesy but yet so enjoyable movies, a Highlander. Well, in this movie, Raiden handpicks 3 martial artists, including Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, and Johnny Cage, and mentors them. After intense training, Raiden transports the trio to the Outworld, the site of an interdimensional fighting tournament. There, the 3 humans must defeat the demonic warriors of Shang Tsung. If they fail, Shang Tsung and his army will take over Earth. Even though this movie has a lot of supernatural elements, it is similar in storyline to the likes of the movie Bloodsport. Actually, the character of Johnny Cage is based on Jean-Claude Van Damme. When they were developing the first Mortal Kombat video game, they actually wanted to call the game Van Damme, and it was meant to be focused on JCVD as he fights through a tournament. An agreement couldn't be made, so they made Mortal Kombat and included Johnny Cage as a tribute to the action star. Number 2. Tomb Raider, the 2018 adaptation. I chose the most recent movie adaptation as part of the list as I feel that this particular movie was the strongest out of the 3 Lara Croft adventures into the film world. The 2 previous movies that were helmed by Lara Croft were not bad either, even though they were lacking perfect storylines that didn't have plot holes in them. The original 2 films did introduce the character to a wider audience and were the perfect popcorn-style flick of that era that was meant to be enjoyed in the movie theaters. Out of all the movie adaptations, I always felt that Tomb Raider would be the easiest one to adapt. After all, the video games felt like Indiana Jones movies, but with a female protagonist. So we could almost say that Tomb Raider was a loose reinterpretation of Indiana Jones. Actually, I'm pretty surprised that they didn't do more of these, as each Croft adventure could easily be set in different countries and/or continents. Also, being an archaeologist means that she's always up for an adventure that can have relics origin taken from thousands and thousands of stories from our human history. The 2018 adaptation focuses on Lara Croft, the fiercely independent daughter of an eccentric adventurer who vanished years earlier. Hoping to solve the mystery of her father's disappearance, Croft embarks on a perilous journey to his last known destination, a fabled tomb on a mythical island that might be somewhere off the coast of Japan. As the stakes get higher, Lara relies on her sharp mind, blind faith, and stubborn spirit to venture into the unknown. Upon its release, people criticized the franchise for having made a reboot with a more grounded approach and a star who is clearly well cast for the role, but the movie lacked an inspiring story. Either way, this movie is an enjoyable watch and a good adaptation that will probably lead to more sequels. Number 1. Sonic the Hedgehog. This one kind of took everyone by surprise. Upon its initial trailer, this movie was heavily criticized for having Sonic portrayed with really small eyes and an appearance that just didn't match the actual video game. After all, the video game franchise is the iconic character for Sega, and whoever approved art direction for the original VFX in the trailer clearly didn't understand what fans wanted. People complained enough that Paramount had to delay the movie's release and change the CGI for Sonic throughout the movie. This movie tells the story of Sonic, the world's speediest hedgehog, as he embraces his life on Earth after having stepped through a portal that got him stuck here. Sonic and his new best friend Tom team up to defend the planet from the evil genius, Dr. Robotnik, played by none other than the super talented Jim Carrey, who is trying to get world domination. As you can tell, the story is pretty simple, and it kind of echoes once again Super Mario Bros. And a multitude of video game to movie adaptations where there are parallel worlds and most of the action takes place on Earth. The movie is pleasantly enjoyable for what it is and definitely a must-watch. With that being said, these were my top 5 video game to movie adaptations. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. On the last note, I must say that as more video game movies are being made, I can definitely tell that they are getting better and better. And dare I say that maybe one day we'll have a perfect movie adaptation. With that being said, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.